Thank you for joining me for the JT Viper News Hour. Shocking news from North Dakota. The state has recently made legal the use of militarized drones a la Cyberdyne against its own population. More on this at 10. Alright, but in all seriousness, folks, North Dakota has authorized the use through a new bill, relatively new, for the police in the state to use militarized drones, weaponized is the correct term, in order to subdue violent suspects and perpetrators of violent crime. The drones can only, by this law, be allowed to be mounted with non-lethal, less lethal ordnance like tasers, pepper spray, and rubber bullets. However, many fear that this is the new age of Skynet and Cyberdyne, where, of course, the world is going to be taken over by militarized drones. A lot of people are going off on the liberty versus security debate right now. Your libertarian groups are right up this alley. But I think they've failed to notice one important part here. That police officers who respond to a violent criminal have a right to freedom and security as well. I was given the quote by somebody on Twitter that, oh yes, the oh-so-scientific and well-cited Twitter, that the forefathers of America warned us all of exchanging freedom for security. Well, I don't think the forefathers quite understood everything that was going on in the world, nor were they infallible examples of moral and government righteousness. Remember, many of these men still owned slaves. Oh, of course, that was the economy back then, and that's just as it was done. But there is something, I believe, inalienably wrong about keeping slaves. And any well-educated and enlightened person should understand this. So, where do I stand on the weaponized drones being potentially used by police forces in North Dakota? Because, again, I say potentially, this has not been mandated. They do not have to use these. They simply have the authorization now to do so. Well, my question is this. If a suspect is going to pull a gun and shoot at something, would you rather it be an automated drone with a camera, a speaker, and a microphone so that that person can communicate with that drone and the officer on the other end of it? Or would you prefer that they be pointing that gun directly at the chest of an officer? A man or woman who has sworn to go out and protect the public. If you can remove the threat of someone being shot and killed in that situation, why wouldn't you do that? Now, I did receive the answer, well, police shoot people every day. This is just going to make it worse. There'll be no accountability, and there'll be nobody to answer for what's going to happen. Newsflash, folks. It is not as though they're going to have just any old Tom, Dick, and Harry sitting beside the controls of these drones. Everyone hears drones. I know you think of the Predator and whatnot, dropping, AGMs from, up at altitude, just bombing the crap out of some, camel jockey's tent. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the 8-rotor drones, the buzzing ones that can fly in. Smaller ones. I would call them tactical, but oh no, that would be like a scary tactical ghost gun. In my opinion, if we can take people out of the line of fire and subdue criminals in a way that is going to be less likely to kill them, I would say that's a net positive. An article I read goes on to say, oh, well, people are killed by tasers from the police every year. Alright, well, how many people were tased that year, and how many of them would have fared better if it had been a lead slug from a gun rather than that taser? I think you get my point. In any case, the question about, well, where does due process come in has also been raised. Well, of course, this depends on what your interpretation of due process is. If every single individual, no matter what, is entitled to a day in court, to a judge or jury, then you can technically say that no due process existed any time that the police shoot and kill a criminal, regardless of what they're doing. That criminal could be holding a bomb vest, could be holding the detonator to a bomb, could be pointing a gun at the head of a small child. But you know what? You've got to just try and arrest them peacefully, and you can't shoot them, because that would be depriving them of their due process. In my case, I happen to think that if you're going to point your gun at somebody and threaten their life, that you're on borrowed time. I think you have given up your right to security and freedom because you have now tried to infringe upon the rights of somebody else. You've tried to harm another person. I'm not saying you stub somebody's toe, you deserve a blast of buckshot to the ass, but if you're going to try and threaten the life of somebody, yes, I do believe that you should be put down before you can do that. Better you than them. Anyway, folks, this has been a Viper Unscripted episode dealing with the semi-new revelation about North Dakota's weaponized drone program and legislation. If you have any more questions, please put them in the comments, and I would be glad to address them in a longer video if anybody has any legitimate inquiries about the legislation itself. I can do a summary of it or a full reading. Have a good one, everybody.